Hi everyone, Jared here. Time for the Sunday night video. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend and got some good rest, but I, as always, am excited to get back to the charts and get back to some trading. We've got some great setups and some great things to work with. We see that, the market's kind of leveled out a little bit on a lot of these fronts. There was some wild volatility this week and things have kind of made a bit of a comeback. We saw oil all the way down in the mid 70s, mid to lower 70s, made a big comeback up in the low 80s. And the Dow's still holding above 11,000, so that's pretty good for that. Gold is having a bit of a hard time, but the markets are kind of evening out. We're seeing lots of swings up and down and up and down, and there's not much of a trend as far as equities go. And it's kind of coming true a little bit on the currencies. They're just making these wild swings, which are okay. Plenty of trading opportunities there. What we've got this week is we've got lots of news coming out, but some of the big important news. The FOMC meeting minutes are always pretty important, and so that's pretty crucial on dollar pairs. So that's one thing. The next thing is we've got some unemployment numbers out of Australia. We have some trade balance numbers, and then we're always waiting for what is going to be the next shoe to drop in the European situation. Word is that a deal is near to kind of get things finalized and forward movement, but that's been the case for a little while and needed to be the case, and so we'll see if that all ends up materializing. So European news is probably going to be some of the bigger, more important stuff for this week, as well as FOMC meeting minutes. So anything where kind of the governments were involved in the financial economic situation is going to be the important news of the week and of the day for sure. Okay, so here's what we have coming into this week here. The euro, all of last week, this euro was pretty choppy. We were able to get some good trades out of it, but it was still a choppy son of a gun. And now here it is once again. Here's our Friday lowish. Really our Friday low is this little wick right here, which is about 33.60. I'm kind of looking a little more at about 33.70. I think that's going to be a good enough level. There's lots of consolidation, the daily pivot and so on. The euro has kind of bounced down to this area. You can see that this 33.70 level is pretty crucial. Look at that. The market hit it several times last week, almost every day actually. In fact, it did hit it every day. Started Sunday off and just kept bouncing along. It finally broke above, and here it is bouncing using that as a support now. So I'm going to be looking for a break of this 33.70. I just have a feeling that this euro might be heading down. However, if it does not head down, I'm not going to wait all the way until it breaks the high, which is all the way up here about 35.25.30. What we're going to be looking for here is if this thing kind of just starts to consolidate on this level, still expecting a break. You can see that we have a 1 hour crossover down, but we're still kind of in 4 hour crossover up territory. So if this just can't break, then I may look for a buy opportunity with a stop below 33.70. But I really think that this euro is going to break and at least give us a run down, probably 50 pips kind of into this consolidation congestion area down here that we saw all of last week. Really having a hard time in kind of those just above 13300. So I think, like I said, I think there's about 50 pips to be had there on the break of that 33.70. So watch for 33.70 to break. Should be a good little opportunity to sell this thing. Again, if we do get a little bit of consolidation, it starts to run back up, then you could look for a buy opportunity with a stop just below 33.70. But that's kind of what we're looking for. The euro has made this nice retracement, and it's just about come in contact with that daily gap, and it's starting to come off that. So that's also a pretty crucial retracement area, and that can be a good point to start turning this back down lower once again. And that's why that 33.70 I think will be a good level to sell that pair. As far as the pound dollar goes, the UK really hasn't had much news in the in the headlines. Everything seems to, everyone's in trouble, but the UK seems to be doing decent. It's hanging in there pretty well. So the pound dollar might have just a little more strength than it will see, but again, it's done the same thing that the euro's done, where it made this nice little rundown, kind of a double bottom here, and then it's run right up into that daily gap, tested it, and it could be coming off that. That's a really good retracement area, this whole guy right here, and then start taking this pair back down. So a couple of things to look at on this pound dollar. Number one, we have our our Friday low, which is right about 54. We're going to say 54.20, but don't forget about this little consolidation here, which is about 55.40. So if that level breaks, I think there could be a little short-term run, maybe not all the way down to that 54.20, but maybe part of the way, half the way right there. So there could be a nice little trading opportunity at the break of 54 or 55.40. So watch for that. Otherwise, as far as buying opportunities go and taking this pair on up, I'm actually going to look for some of these little trend lines. You can see these guys right here, and they're starting to kind of they're forming. We have that nice little bounce and that bigger one right there, and this is kind of all starting to get into that area. And you can see this little kind of double, triple top action that's been happening here about 55.75. So we've got a bit of a channel there. So I think probably a break of about that 55.75 might get us up into the higher range here. And you can see that's also where that weekly pivot was of last week. But 55.75 could be a nice area to kind of buy this pair. We saw lots of consolidation there, so if it gets back above that, that's a good 15-minute crossover and just a nice continuation up, and that will hopefully get us into some of the highs right here. Again, I'm not looking for a huge run, but that could give us, again, about 50 pips. Otherwise, like I said, watch for this 55.40, and if this breaks down, I think we've got probably 50 pips to the downside as well. So I think 50 pips is going to kind of be the crucial number today. Euro yen right here, same kind of situation. We have this low all the way down here at about 102.50. That's about 30 pips off. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to wait for it to get all the way down there before looking for a selling opportunity, but I don't think I'm going to do anything on the currencies until getting closer into the UK session. I think that this Asian session might be a little bit of false breakouts and false movements, so that's where I'm going to kind of wait on that. But watch this 102.50 as we get nearer to the UK session, which is still, several hours away, 6, 7, 8 hours, from now. We'll start to see that UK action really start to move things. But I'm going to be looking for that and kind of holding for that break to get down here, which once again should give us around 60 to 70 pips on the downside. Otherwise, if we do see the euro pair start rallying, if there's some really kind of good news coming out of Europe as we get into the UK session regarding some of the deals made and so on, it could start to rally, but this euro yen's done the same thing. It's run all the way down, it's kind of retraced back up into that daily gap, and it's trying to head back down again. So as we look at kind of the 4-hour chart, we can see that it's slightly bullish right now, and you can see this very kind of short-term trend line that's been in the works right here. It's been bouncing up that. I think if it starts to break that, that could be a very, very nice selling opportunity, which once again puts us at the 102.50 area. As far as a buy signal goes, I'm going to probably wait on this to do too much. You can see some highs right here, a little bit of a channel. Breaking that might take us up into some of those higher levels, but I'm going to be kind of careful on that. Really looking for the selling opportunity at 102.50, just like I'm looking for the sell opportunity on the euro dollar at about 33.70. As far as the pound yen goes, same kind of situation as the pound dollar. Nice little ascending trend line if it makes a nice break of that level right there, which will probably be more around the just kind of in this trend line area, about 119.20, 25. Could make a little bit of a run down, but let's try to stick with the trend a little bit. And the short-term trend right now is still pretty up. It's kind of starting to bump along the bottom of this daily gap with a nice double bottom there, so we got to keep an eye out for any reversal patterns on that. I don't really have too super clear of a signal as far as buying on a few of these pairs go. It's always a good idea to look at these trend lines. These are always good, and you can see that we've got a bit of one on this nice little double top on this pound yen, and then this descending trend line. So it could be somewhere in this area. If it starts to break above this, that might give us a good buying signal. But like I said, I'm going to be kind of careful. Wait until I get a little bit closer to the UK session. But about 119.50, 60 should be a good area to start taking this pair up. So those are going to be the ones we're going to be looking at. And then, of course, the Aussie dollar. This thing's been pretty solid, and you can see that these lows right here of about 97.30 could be a good breaking point to take this pair down. So a break of 97.30 could take this pair much, much lower. Otherwise, we've got some kind of gapping and some messy stuff going on here, and some trend lines that could give us some movement. So just keep an eye on these guys as well. But I think our UK levels should give us some good activity and get us into a couple of these pairs nicely. Gold, again, is just kind of hopping around, really choppy. Double bottom, made a nice run up. Looks like it's trying to come back down, so we're going to keep our eyes on that. But again, I think we're going to have some really nice selling opportunities at the break of 33.70 on the euro dollar and 102.50 on the euro yen. and then of this little channel of about 55.75 of the high and 55.40 of the low on the pound dollar. And we should be able to buy or sell that one on either one of those movements there. So we've got some great little setups happening. Keep an eye on everything, and let's get some pips as we get into this nice Sunday and into this week again. And we'll have some UK setups again tonight in the chat. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you in the chat.